They keep asking the same question again and again, almost with disbelief in their eyes, as if the world suddenly broke its own rules. Why are so many men choosing to stay unmarried in 2026? Why are men delaying commitment, avoiding marriage, or openly saying they don't want it at all? And what confuses women the most is this: these men are not broken, not incapable, not socially awkward. Many of them are educated, emotionally aware, financially stable, and perfectly capable of love, yet they are stepping back quietly, deliberately, and the confusion doesn't come from hatred or ego, it comes from shock. Because for decades, women were told that men chase marriage, that men fear loneliness, that men need women more than women need men. But the ground has shifted and nobody prepared them for this version of reality. Men didn't wake up one day in 2026 and collectively decide to reject marriage. This has been building for years, slowly, silently, through experiences no one listened to, through sacrifices no one acknowledged, through expectations that only went one way. A man today doesn't fear responsibility. What he fears is irreversible responsibility with no safety net. He fears being valued only for what he provides, not for who he is. He fears entering a system where love is conditional, respect is negotiable, and accountability is optional, only on one side. Women often say men are scared of commitment, but commitment is not what men are running from. Men commit every single day. They commit to jobs that drain them, to families that depend on them, to responsibilities that don't clap for them. What they are running from is emotional risk without emotional security. They are running from contracts where expectations are unlimited, but appreciation is scarce, where their silence is called emotional immaturity, but their vulnerability is used against them later. In 2026, men are more informed than ever. They watch, they observe, they listen, not to words, but to patterns. They see marriages where love turned into leverage, where affection became a reward system, where respect disappeared the moment a man struggled. They see men around them being shamed, dismissed, replaced emotionally before being replaced legally. And they ask themselves a simple question: what exactly am I signing up for? Women are confused because they were taught that men want marriage as proof of success. But modern men don't see marriage as a trophy anymore. They see it as a long-term emotional investment. And like any smart investor, they analyze risk. They ask about return, not money, peace, stability, loyalty, emotional safety. And when those things feel uncertain, they step back, not angrily, not loudly, just quietly. A man today doesn't want to be needed. He wants to be chosen. There is a difference that many people still don't understand. Being needed means you are useful. Being chosen means you are valued. Men are tired of relationships where their worth is measured by how much they can carry, how much they can tolerate, how much they can fix. They want a partner, not a performance review. Another uncomfortable truth is this: men are no longer willing to be emotionally starved in exchange for social approval. In the past, men stayed in unhappy marriages because divorce meant shame. Loneliness meant weakness. Today, loneliness feels safer than emotional neglect. Peace feels better than constant criticism. Silence feels kinder than endless conflict disguised as communication. Women say, but men get companionship, love, family. Yes, when it's mutual, when it's fair, when it's respectful. What men are rejecting is not marriage, it's imbalance. It's the idea that a man must constantly prove his worth while being told he's privileged. It's being expected to lead, provide, protect, and stay emotionally available while his own emotional needs are minimized or mocked. In 2026, men are talking to each other more, sharing stories they used to hide, stories of being manipulated through guilt, of being punished with silence, of being compared to other men, of being told they are not emotionally intelligent enough, while being expected to absorb endless emotional labor without complaint. These conversations matter. They change minds. They wake people up. Women are confused because they were told independence would make men chase harder. But independence without emotional softness creates distance, not attraction. Men admire strength, but they connect with warmth. They are not intimidated by success. They are exhausted by competition inside intimacy. A relationship is not a courtroom, not a battlefield, not a constant power negotiation. Men today are choosing solitude not because they hate women, but because solitude doesn't shame them for needing rest. Solitude doesn't weaponize their past mistakes. Solitude doesn't demand perfection. It doesn't threaten to leave every time expectations aren't met. Solitude gives them space to breathe, and for the first time, many men are realizing how rare that feeling is. Another layer women often overlook is this: men have watched love become transactional, affection tied to compliance, desire tied to status, respect tied to income. When a man realizes he is loved more for what he provides than who he is, something inside him closes, slowly, quietly, and once that door closes, marriage stops looking like love and starts looking like a job with no days off. Men in 2026 are not anti-love. They are anti-disposable. They don't want to build a life where they are easily replaceable but endlessly demanded. They want loyalty that doesn't evaporate during hard seasons, support that doesn't turn into judgment, a home that feels safe, not supervised. Women often say, but good men are rare. Men say the same thing about good partnerships. Both are right. But the difference is this: men are now willing to wait, to walk away, to stay single longer, because peace has become more valuable than proving something to society. Marriage used to be a guarantee of belonging. Today, for many men, it feels like a gamble with stacked odds. And until that changes, until love feels safe again, until respect becomes mutual, until accountability is shared, the confusion will remain. Men are not confused. They are clear about what they no longer want to tolerate, clear about the cost of ignoring red flags, clear about the difference between being alone and being lonely. And that clarity is what feels unfamiliar. So when women ask why men prefer to be unmarried in 2026, the answer isn't hidden. It's right there, in the stories men stopped telling out loud, in the effort they gave without recognition, in the love they offered without protection. Men didn't abandon marriage. They stepped away from a version of it that no longer felt like home. And this is where the misunderstanding deepens even more, because many women interpret men's withdrawal as emotional coldness or ego. They assume men are trying to punish women by staying single, but men are not playing a game. They are responding to patterns, repeated patterns where effort was invisible, sacrifice was expected, and silence was safer than honesty. Men learned something painful over the last decade. Expressing needs often backfires. When a man says he feels unappreciated, he is told he is insecure. When he says he feels disrespected, he is told he is controlling. When he asks for peace, he is accused of avoiding communication. Over time, he stops speaking, not because he has nothing to say, but because he learned that his words are liabilities. In 2026, men are choosing emotional minimalism. Fewer arguments, fewer explanations, fewer promises, because every promise feels like a potential weapon later. They have seen how words spoken in vulnerability are stored, remembered, and reused during conflict, so they adapt, they simplify, they protect their inner world by limiting access to it. Women often ask, why won't men open up anymore? The truth is, men opened up before. and paid for it. They were vulnerable with the wrong people at the wrong time, and instead of being met with care, they were met with comparison, criticism, or emotional withdrawal. Once a man learns that vulnerability costs him respect, he chooses composure instead, silence instead, distance instead. Another reason marriage feels unattractive to many men now is the shifting definition of masculinity. Men are told to be strong but gentle, confident but apologetic, assertive but never firm, successful but never proud. No matter what they choose, it feels wrong. And living under constant correction inside a relationship feels exhausting. A man doesn't want to come home to a place where he is always being worked on. Men also notice how quickly admiration turns into entitlement. In the beginning, his ambition is attractive. Later, it becomes expected. His effort is praised until it becomes the baseline. Once effort becomes obligation, love starts feeling like labor. And men are tired of emotional labor that is never acknowledged as such. In 2026, men are asking themselves hard questions. Who will stand by me when I fail? Who will protect my reputation when I'm weak? Who will speak well of me when I'm not in the room? These questions matter more to men than romance ever will. And too often, they don't feel confident in the answers. Men also see how quickly narratives change, how a man can go from the love of my life to emotionally unavailable the moment conflict appears, how private disagreements become public stories, how personal flaws become character assassinations. Marriage feels risky when privacy feels optional. And there's another layer nobody wants to talk about. Men feel replaceable. Social media didn't just change dating, it changed perceived value. A man knows that if he struggles, someone else is one swipe away. That knowledge changes behavior. It makes commitment feel fragile, temporary, conditional. Men aren't saying marriage is bad. They are saying the current culture around relationships doesn't protect them. It demands growth from men, but rarely offers grace. It demands emotional intelligence, but punishes emotional honesty. It demands consistency, but offers unpredictability in return. So men adapt the only way they know how, by opting out, by staying unmarried, by keeping their lives simple, by investing in routines, fitness, work, friendships, things that reward effort fairly, where cause and effect still make sense. Women feel confused because they were taught that men mature into marriage. What they are witnessing now is men maturing out of illusions, out of fantasies sold to them about unconditional love that often turned out to be conditional performance. Men in 2026 are not closed-hearted. They are guarded. They still want love, but only where love feels safe. They still want partnership, but only where partnership means mutual responsibility. Until then, remaining unmarried feels less like avoidance and more like self-respect. And the silence men carry today is not emptiness. It is experience. That experience has taught men to read between lines instead of trusting promises. They no longer fall for words like "we're a team" unless they've seen teamwork during conflict. They no longer believe "I'll always be there" unless it survived inconvenience. Men in 2026 are not romantic in the old sense. They are observational. They watch behavior under stress, not affection during comfort. Another thing women underestimate is how deeply men internalize failure. When a relationship collapses, a man doesn't just lose love, he loses identity. He questions his judgment, his worth, his competence. Society doesn't offer men emotional recovery, it offers mockery or silence. So men learn to reduce exposure. Fewer risks mean fewer losses. Marriage used to feel like an anchor. Now, to many men, it feels like a magnifying glass. Every flaw enlarged, every mistake documented, every shortcoming remembered. And living under constant evaluation is not intimacy. It's pressure. Pressure that slowly drains desire, motivation, and openness. Men also see how narratives favor emotional expression, but punish emotional boundaries. When a man sets limits, he's labeled distant. When he prioritizes peace, he's labeled avoidant. When he refuses chaos, he's told he's emotionally unavailable. So he learns that no matter what he does, he will be misunderstood. Choosing to remain unmarried becomes a way to escape constant misinterpretation. In 2026, men are redefining success. It's no longer just marriage, children, and status. Success looks like waking up without dread, coming home without tension, being respected without negotiation. If marriage threatens those things, men will walk away from it, even if they still want love. Women are confused because they assume men want intensity. Men don't. They want consistency. They want emotional predictability. They want to know that love won't be withdrawn as punishment, that disagreement won't turn into character judgment, that mistakes won't be used as leverage months later. Men have also learned that attraction without respect is a trap. Passion without kindness burns fast. Chemistry without character creates chaos. Many men have lived through relationships that felt exciting but unsafe. They don't want that again. Calm now feels attractive. Stability feels seductive. There's also the quiet resentment men carry about being told they are replaceable while being expected to be irreplaceable providers. That contradiction creates emotional detachment. A man cannot feel secure where his value feels temporary. And without security, commitment feels foolish. Men are not asking women to lower standards. They are asking for realistic ones, standards that apply to both sides. Accountability that isn't gendered, empathy that isn't selective. Without that balance, marriage feels less like partnership and more like submission to constant expectations. In private, many men admit something they would never say out loud. Staying single feels safer than being misunderstood daily. It feels better than defending intentions, better than explaining exhaustion, better than being told their emotional responses are wrong. Men also see how quickly love turns into correction, how often they are told how to speak, how to feel, how to respond. A relationship starts to feel like training, not bonding. And no man wants to marry someone who sees him as a project. In 2026, men are choosing depth over display. Fewer relationships, but more intentional ones, if any at all. They would rather wait years than settle into emotional instability. Waiting no longer feels like failure. It feels like discipline. Women struggle to understand this because they still associate male commitment with pursuit. But men now associate commitment with risk assessment. And when risk feels high and reward feels uncertain, restraint feels wise. Men haven't stopped believing in love. They've stopped believing in unconditional tolerance. They've learned that love without boundaries destroys self-respect. And self-respect, once rebuilt, is not easily sacrificed again. What looks like avoidance is actually discernment. What looks like fear is actually memory. What looks like detachment is often a man finally listening to himself after years of ignoring his own discomfort. And as long as men feel that marriage requires them to lose peace in exchange for approval, they will continue to choose the quiet dignity of being unmarried, carrying their clarity forward, not loudly, but deliberately. And here is the truth that needs to be said clearly, without softness, without apology. Men are not running from women. They are running from systems that reward their sacrifice but ignore their humanity. They are not afraid of love. They are afraid of losing themselves in the name of love. A man who chooses to stay unmarried in 2026 is not confused, immature, or broken. He is aware of the cost of emotional neglect, aware of the danger of one-sided compromise, aware that peace is not something you find after marriage. It is something you must protect before entering it. Marriage will only regain meaning for men when respect becomes mutual, when love does not disappear during hardship, when vulnerability is met with care instead of control, and when partnership truly means two people carrying the weight together. Until then, men will continue to choose solitude over silent suffering, clarity over chaos, and self-respect over social validation. Not loudly, not bitterly, but with a calm certainty that no explanation can replace lived experience. If this perspective made you pause, reflect, or see modern relationships more clearly, then you already understand the deeper psychology most people avoid. For more honest conversations about human behavior, relationships, and emotional truth, subscribe to the channel Voice of Wisdom, where clarity is valued over comfort and truth is spoken without fear.